So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For those who don't know, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. Right now, we are joined by 6 classes from across North America, so I'm going to give them a chance to do a bit of a shout-out. We've got Miss Hone's grade 4s in Barrie, Ontario.
Hi, Barrie, Ontario.
We've got Miss Wong's very enthusiastic grade 6s in Canada, who are so enthusiastic, I think they actually broke their computer's mic there, which is impressive. We've got Miss Wade's grade 3s in Dryden in Virginia.
Hey, Virginia.
Virginia. Hi. We've got Miss Lackey's grade 5s in Freehold, New Jersey.
Hey, New Jersey.
Hey, guys. Getting their thing ready, but we can see them, and they're excited. We've got Miss Robertson's grade 8s in Mississauga, Ontario. Hi, guys.
Mississauga.
No. Awesome. And we've got Miss Durnan's grade 10s in Clinton, Ontario. Hey, guys. Welcome in. I love the grade 10 class, just like a little bit of waving. Thank you guys for that. That makes my day. Of course, the reason you guys are all here today is for our speaker. So we are joined live by Dr. Harry Murray, who is a scientist from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans in Canada, joining us, I think, from St. John's in Newfoundland, one of my very favorite cities in the world, to talk about sustainably farming the ocean. How can we farm the ocean while still preserving the environment? Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dr. Murray. Thanks so much for joining us, and take it away.
Can I get a big hooray again?
Can't.
There we go. That's what I like to see. Okay, guys, we're going to spend a little bit of time together this afternoon. I'm going to take us on an adventure. Who wants to go on an adventure? Yeah? Okay, good. I'm going to teach you a little bit about who I am, where I live, and what I do. Anybody interested in that?
Yeah.
Okay. Can everybody see the first slide?
Yes, we can. We're good.
Okay, so who am I? My name is Dr. Harry Murray, and you can see a picture of me up in the right-hand corner. It says me. That's me being very cold out on a boat in the northeast coast of Newfoundland. What do I do? I'm an aquaculture research scientist, and I work for Fisheries and Oceans Canada, and I live in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. That's a long ways away from you guys in Virginia. Okay, so I work at the Northwest Atlantic Fishery Center in St. John's, Newfoundland. Does anybody know where St. John's is? Anybody know where Newfoundland is? Some people do. Okay, what do we have here? This is a world, right? And what part of the world are we seeing here? This is North America, right? And North America is divided into three countries. It's divided into Canada, it's divided into the United States, and then we have Mexico down here. I couldn't fit it in. So Canada, United States. So where is Newfoundland? Newfoundland is on the east coast of Canada. You see the little red circle? That's the east coast of Canada. And inside the little circle is Newfoundland. Everybody see that? Get a big shout. Yay?
Yes, but I've got them all muted, so it's tricky to balance that. But yes, we all see it.
Okay.
We're excited.
I don't know if they're muted or not.
They're all muted.
I'm not getting any interaction here. So,
yeah.
All right. So Newfoundland looks a little bit like this. An interesting little shape. It has the big northern peninsula up here and the Avalon Peninsula down here. And on the Avalon Peninsula, we have the city of St. John's, and that's where I'm living right now. And the North Atlantic Fishery Center, as I mentioned, is where I work. And this is a picture of the North Atlantic Fishery Center here. And the arrow points to this little building. That's where I am. So it's me smiling at you right down there in the corner. Everybody see that? Yay.
Yes.
Okay, so what is Fisheries and Oceans Canada? The people in the United States may not be so familiar with it. Well, Fisheries and Oceans Canada is actually part of the government of Canada. What do we do? Our work is part of the daily lives of all Canadians. We make sure people who use boats on the oceans and in the lakes do it safely and in a way to protect our environment. We manage fisheries and aquaculture, and we work with fishermen, fish farmers, fish and First Nations people to enable their continued prosperity in fish and seafood. So we ensure that Canada's oceans and other aquatic ecosystems are protected. So we're very big on protecting the oceans and the freshwater ecosystem. Is that a good thing? Just go like this and tell me. Yeah?
Yeah.
You know what a scientist is? Yeah? The scientist is somebody who asks questions. It's somebody who uses his senses to understand the surroundings. So we're looking around, we're smelling things, we're touching things. We notice details about stuff. You guys notice details about stuff? We measure, excuse me, we measure things. We design experiments. And we think logically. We're always thinking about how things fit together. And of course, we have fun. You think we have fun? Yeah, we have fun.
No way. Fun.
Okay, so I'm a shellfish aquaculturist. I work on shellfish. So what is a shellfish? I like dogs as well. So I have my little dog up here. It's not my dog, it's a picture of a dog. And you know what the dog is saying? He says, I'm not talking to him. He's being shellfish. Get it? Shellfish? Okay, it's a joke. Never mind. So what is a shellfish? A shellfish is an aquatic animal, an animal that lives in the ocean. It's aquatic, and it has a shell, such as a mussel. And I actually have a mussel here in front of me right now. Everybody see that? That's it's called a horse mussel. Okay, it's part of its shell. Yeah, like that. I also have a moon snail. This is a moon snail here. And it also has a shell, but you can see that the mussel shell and the moon snail shell look very different from each other, don't they?
Yeah, I know.
So we can only see your screen, Dr. Murray. We can't see you if you're holding things up, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Just the screen. The reason we have the classes muted is if they're not muted, they overshadow you. They talk too loudly so we won't be able to hear you. So we have it. So it's just you talking and just your screen.
Okay, so you can only see my presentation right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to get rid of the presentation in order to show my stuff.
That's true.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. We'll continue with this then. So mussels and lobsters and other crustaceans. You know what? What's really interesting? Well, squids and octopus are also mollusks. They're also shellfish. Did you know that before? You're thinking, how can they be shellfish? They don't have shells, but in fact they do. They have the shell on the inside as opposed to the outside. So you go home now, you say, you know what? An octopus is an actual shellfish. It has the shell on the inside. So what is aquaculture or fish farming? I want to play a bit of a game with you. So we have 4 pictures here. We have number 1 picture up on my left side. We have number 2 picture on the right side, number 3 down on the bottom left, and number 4 on the bottom right. So the game is, you tell me which one is actual fish farming. Is it number 1 where you have a tractor and we have a farmer who's planting fish in the ground and hopefully they'll grow? Or we have a fish here who's planting lettuce into the ground. So we have a fish farmer. Or we have mussels growing on lines, or fish growing in pens or nets in the ocean. Or we have mussels growing in socks here in number 4. Which one do you think, put up your finger, which one do you think is actual fish farming? Number 3. I see number 3s, lots of number 3s. Yay, you guys are smart. Holy smoke, you guys are really smart. Yeah, number 3 and number 4 are actually fish farming. In fish farming, what we actually do is we farm animals in the water. So aquaculture, aqua meaning water, culture is growing or farming animals in water. Farming in water, we farm seaweeds, finfish like salmon, for example, and shellfish like mussels. So all of these things we can farm in the water. And they do this all around the world. This is a picture of a farmer's, basically a farmer's field, and he's growing mussels on the water here. This is a picture of some of the farmers who are actually lifting their crop out of the water. So these are all mussels here that are growing on lines. So he can harvest these mussels and send them off to market, the supermarket, so people can buy them and eat them. Mussels are grown in socks, not like the socks you put on your feet, but they're like long tubes, mesh tubes. And we put the babies in the tube, and the babies grow to the outside. They get bigger and big enough so that we can actually harvest them. A little bit about the direction that the farmers go. So we take the adult mussels first, and the adult mussels spawn in the water. They produce eggs and they produce sperm. So that allows them to produce baby mussels. And the baby mussels settle, or they settle down on rope like this. So if you see this up in the upper right-hand corner, this is all baby mussels. See the little black dots? They're all baby mussels sitting on the rope. The baby mussels are placed in the socks, as I mentioned, and then the socks are actually tied on long ropes in the ocean. And over about 2 years, these mussels will grow into big enough to actually eat or harvest and eat. So here we have down on the lower left-hand side, we actually have mussels that have been harvested, and they're sitting in containers to go off to the supermarket.
It's right there.
And here we have mussels for supper. Anybody eat mussels before? Put a hand up to see if you've eaten mussels before. Wow, some people have. Are they tasty? Wave your hand if they're tasty. So what we have here, this is a farmer's boat who's actually harvesting mussels, as we can see. So he brings the rope up to the back of the boat, the stern of the boat, and he takes all the mussels off. He puts them in the containers, and then the ropes go along the front of the bow of the boat to start all over again. And down here in the bottom left-hand corner is actually my team. This is Dwight, this is Daria, this is Sharon, and this is Lynn. These are all my team who help me out when I work out into the field. You can see they're all dressed up to be very, very warm. Because when we're working on the ocean, especially in the wintertime, it can get really cold here. And the bottom right-hand corner, you see, it's a mussel car. Not really a mussel car. It has mussels on it. Okay, now, so see how smart you guys are. How do shellfish get to the hospital? Any idea how?
I can ask a few classes if you'd like, and then we can see.
Sure, okay.
Let's start with Miss Wong's class. Do you guys have any idea?
No. They go on the ambulance. Because they're two shellfish, they go to the hospital. They go on their shell phone.
Okay, so we have an ambulance as a thing. How about Miss Wade's group? Any idea?
You take it in there.
Take it there? Okay.
You sail. You sail away.
So we've got take it there. We've got ambulance. We've got the two shellfish to go to the hospital.
Okay, do you know what the real answer is? In a clamulance.
Oh.
Do I get a groan? Wow. Okay, here's another one. Why do oysters go to the gym?
What does Miss Durnan's class think? What do you guys think?
What?
No idea. Completely unwilling. Miss Robertson's group. Oh dear. Corny joke forthcoming. Mussels.
I didn't hear what you guys said.
He said to get mussels. What do you think?
You got it. There you go. It's good for the mussels. You guys are great. Those are the grade 10s, right?
No, the grade 10s didn't. Those are the grade, what do we got? The grade 8s.
Oh, good. A bunch of smart grade 8s. That's a good thing. Excellent. And there's a thumbs up for you. Okay, and the last one. Get a big fright? Whoa! Why don't the oysters give to charity? Because they're shellfish.
There's no shellfish.
Grown. Grown.
Can I see one?
These things work really well with my kids. My kids are all grown up, so they grown at me too. Okay. So, any questions, guys? This is my real puppy here. This is Juniper.
Where we
Opening your Christmas gift.
There you go. There's a dog. In the next slide. Beautiful dog. All right. So yeah, if you want to end screen share that we can see you again and hear you answering. But we'll start with Miss Hone's class.
Yeah.
Here, come back again. Here we go. Hi, guys.
Hi again. Let's start this whole class. And Barry, if you guys have a question, come on up.
So I wanted to come on over here. Come on over here, Ida. Quick, quick.
Ida, go.
Take your time, no hurry.
Do it loud. Nice and loud.
If you have a fish farm, do you keep them in lakes in the winter?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to speak a little clearer. I didn't quite hear.
If you have a fish farm, do you keep them in the lakes in the winter?
That's a really good question. And if you're growing fish on a fish farm, like salmon, yes, indeed, you do have to feed them in the wintertime. But you know what's really cool? If you're growing mussels, you don't feed mussels. They actually eat the water, eat the plankton that's growing in the water naturally. So they eat all the time. That's a really great question.
Awesome. All right, let's go to Miss Wong, super enthusiastic group. If you guys have a question,
I have a question.
go ahead. Yeah.
If excuse me. Okay. So does fishery affect other animals for like becoming endangered? Does fishery affect animals like, because I'm doing this project and it says that fisheries can like get some animals tangled in the nets and that they could die and stuff. So
That's very, very true. That's very, very true. And wild fisheries can be what we say is non-sustainable. And that's why aquaculture becomes a big part of what we're doing these days. If you're growing animals in the ocean, then you can control what those animals are doing, and you can grow as many as you want. So it's very sustainable. That means you're protecting the wild animals as opposed to taking them out. That's a good question.
Excellent. Before we go to our third class, I want to note too that we've got a bunch of groups watching on YouTube live. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can type in questions on the right of your screen and I can pass them along to Dr. Murray. So please do that. But we'll keep going with Miss Wade's class while we're waiting.
All right, right here, Jen. Right here. What kind of tools do you use for fish farming?
What kind of tools do I use?
Yeah.
Yes.
We use nets to actually capture the fish. We use buckets, very simple, buckets to carry our food so we can feed the fish. We use boats. We use very big boats and small boats. For mussel farming, we use a lot of rope and socks, of course, and more boats. It's not like land fishing where you need land farming where you need tractors and hoes and rakes and things like that. Most of what we do in fish farms is very simple.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah. All right, let's head to Miss Lackey's class. If you guys have a question, you might need to demute your own mic. It's got it muted on my screen, but I can't undo it. There you go. You're good to go.
All right, Matt.
Go ahead.
Are you worried about?
Oh,
You gotta get down. Are you worried about certain types of species of fish going extinct because of fishing?
I am very worried about that. As a scientist, that's one of the things that's always on our minds, especially as a marine biologist. And that's one of the reasons that we support aquaculture. If we're growing our fish, then we're not taking fish from the wild, so we're not really worried that much about making them go extinct. That's one of the real benefits of aquaculture. Wild fisheries are, like I'll use the word sustainable. Wild fisheries are not really sustainable these days.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah. All right, let's head to Miss Robertson's class. If you guys have a question, come on up. Just demute that mic and you're good to go. Bert.
Water pollution impacted the aquaculture industry.
Does water pollution impact the aquaculture industry?
Yeah, and how does it?
Oh, it certainly can. Because we're growing the animals in the water, in the open ocean, any type of pollution can cause issue for that, for sure. So, for example, if you have an oil spill around an area where there's an aquaculture farm, then that oil can go in and directly affect the animals that we're growing, which can be a big issue down the road when you harvest those animals. So pollution can certainly be a major factor.
All right, and then we'll wrap up our first round of questions with Miss Durnan's group. So grade 10s, guys, just demute your mic and you're good to go.
We were wanting to know more about your dog.
You want to know more about my job?
Your dog.
Oh, my dog. Oh, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about my dog. My dog's name is Juniper. She is a Cape Shore water dog. So she's from the southern shore of Newfoundland, and she's built for hunting ducks. And she has really thick fur to keep her warm in cold water. In fact, I was on just this past weekend, just to start a story, just this past weekend, I was down on the beach collecting seaweed for my vegetable garden, and she decided she wanted to swim out to a boat buoy, a boat that was attached to a buoy floating out in the bay. So she swam out there and swam right back again. The water's pretty cold here now, and it didn't have any effect on her whatsoever. She was very happy. Her tail was wagging. She's a very fun dog.
So I've been doing
everybody's best friend.
I have hosted over 200 of these. That is the first dog-related question we've ever had. And Dr. Murray, I appreciate you answering it. Thank you for that. All right, let's do another round. We'll start back again in Barry, Miss Holmes' class. If you guys have a second question, come on up.
Right in front. So put your head right in front.
Why did so many fish come to Newfoundland anyway?
You have to speak louder.
Why did so many fish come to Newfoundland anyway?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
It's why do so many fish come to Newfoundland? Why do you have so many fish off the coast to begin with?
That is a really good question. You know, about 500 years ago, the first explorers that came across the ocean from Europe, they came here, and one of the things they found was very large numbers of codfish sitting off our coast here, and that brought more people over. And the reason why there are so many codfish off the coast of Newfoundland is because we have a cold water current that comes down from Labrador, and we have a warm water current that comes up from the southern Atlantic called the Gulf Stream. And when those two currents come together, they form a mixture of water that allows lots of plankton to grow. And the plankton, of course, is one of the major food sources for small fish, which drives in larger fish as well. So it becomes a real soup and attracts lots and lots of fish so that we can catch them.
Very cool. Good answer for a great question. All right, let's head to Ms. Wong's group again. Do you guys have a second question?
Go. Go.
Wait, what's your favorite sea animal?
What's my favorite sea animal?
No pressure.
Another really good question. You guys see this?
Yep.
That's a lobster. It's actually part of a lobster. It's a molt of a lobster. And I like lobsters a lot. You know what? Lobsters are crustaceans, and there's a lot of different animals that are related to the crustacean group. There's another one that's called a parasitic copepod, and it's called Ergocillus. And Ergocillus is a little monster, actually. He lives on and parasitizes small fish, but he's really, really cool. It's only the females that actually land on the fish and parasitize the fish, which I think is really cool. So I like lobsters, plus I like parasites that live in the ocean. And of course, I like mussels as well. This is a mussel shell.
Okay, how about we take a co-question to that? Is there anything you don't like in the ocean?
Say again?
Is there anything you don't like in the ocean?
Anything I don't like in the ocean?
Yeah, any animals you're not fond of?
I like all animals.
That's what I thought.
That's a loaded question.
Awesome. Let's head to Miss Wade's group for another question. If you guys have one, come on up. Yep, you're good.
How long have you been a marine biologist?
Another really good question. I've wanted to be a marine biologist since I was about 8 years old, and but I've been working as a biologist for 30 years.
Yeah, very cool. We always get that question. It's always nice when it comes up. All right, let's go to Miss Lackey's class. If you guys have a question, go right ahead.
Do you farm other species besides mussels? If so, how?
Do I or can you?
Can you?
Oh yeah, you can actually farm seaweed. You can farm finfish like salmon or codfish or flatfish like halibut. all these animals can be farmed, and they are being farmed all around the world. So aquaculture is really, really popular, and it's really important. You know, we call it a green revolution. It's green because it's sustainable. It helps protect our oceans in a lot of ways. It's very different from wild fishery.
Excellent. When you said we call it, I really expected a corny joke from you there, but I appreciate that, you know, it was a normal thing. Although you break the record again, 200 Hangouts, most corny jokes in one Google Hangout. So
Give me a break with the jokes.
All right, let's go back to Ms. Durnan's group. If you guys have a non-dog related question or pet related of any kind, go right ahead. Demute the mic and you're good to go. I will let. There you go.
Do shellfish have gills?
I didn't hear that one. Go again.
Do shellfish have gills?
They do. They do, actually. And unfortunately, I don't have any here to show you. But shellfish, like a lot of animals that live in the ocean, have to breathe. And they use their gills to breathe oxygen from the water. Plus, shellfish actually use them to filter out their food. So a lot of the food, like the smaller phytoplankton that live in the ocean that they feed on, is actually filters through their gills as well. So they have a dual function. They use them to breathe and they use them to feed. Awesome. Good question.
That was a good question. I love how when some kids ask questions, the whole other class laughs. That was actually a really good question. No need to laugh.
Awesome question.
All right, let's do another round because we are whipping through these. So let's start with Ms. Wong's group. If you guys have a third question, come on up.
Yeah. Okay. Why did you want to be a marine biologist?
Well, that's a really good question. You know what? When I was a little kid, I was about 8 years old, and I was watching a TV show all about marine biology. There was a scientist by the name of Jacques Cousteau. You may have heard of him. He stimulated my interest in marine biology. Plus, I lived right next to the ocean. I was always fascinated by fish and by shellfish and the ocean itself. So that really started me getting excited about it.
Awesome. And by the way, I didn't skip Ms. Robertson's class. I'm coming to you guys. Let's go to Ms. Robertson's class. We can go right ahead. Take it away, guys. Just mute that mic.
Can you explain about aquaculture's role in Canada's sustainability and how much of our food market relies on aquaculture?
Wow,
that's a good question. You guys are so organized. You have them all written down. I don't actually have the numbers in front of me now, but with aquaculture, we have it happening on both the west coast of Canada and on the east coast of Canada. Most of the salmon being produced is divided between both regions. And most of the fish that are being produced in Canada are salmon, and salmon production globally is huge, and it's a huge percentage of the amount of fish that's being contributing to the diets of people all around the world. Shellfish as well is being produced on both sides of Canada and all around the world, including Australia, New Zealand, and many other areas in Europe. So it's a very sustainable green industry for sure. I don't know if that answered your question, but it's a really good one.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Miss Wade's group. You guys have a third question?
Yes. Have you ever seen a Dorabillis?
Have I ever seen say again?
A Dorabillis.
A Dorabillis?
Yes. Yes.
I'm not sure what that is.
Could you tell us a little more about what that is?
It's a little pink creature that lives in the sea, and it's kind of like an octopus, and it has really little short legs.
Oh.
I can't say that I have.
But you'll have to go out and find one. Maybe when we do a second hangout, you can go find an Dorabillis, and then we'll bring that class back, and you can say yes and tell us all about it. How about that?
I will give it my best shot.
Perfect. That's all we ask. All right, let's go to Miss Lackey's class for a second last question. You guys have one? Just demute your mic and good to go.
It's okay.
Yep.
Wait, now?
Yeah.
Oh, would it be
would it be better to eat farm-raised fish rather than wild-caught fish?
That is a really, really good question. That's a really grown-up question. And I'm going to give you my opinion, okay? My opinion is, yes, I would much rather eat farm fish rather than wild fish. I'll give you one reason for that. One reason is we know what goes into farm fish. We know exactly what we're feeding them. But when you're taking fish out of the ocean, you don't always know what they've been eating. And if they're in water that's potentially polluted, then you could be getting some of that pollution yourself into your own body. So because we know exactly what we're feeding farm fish, I think they're safer to eat. Plus farm fish is a lot more sustainable. We're not taking wild fish out of the ocean, right? Good question.
I'm glad we got that question. All right, then we will wrap it up with the class that's organized with all the notes. So Ms. Robertson's class, if you guys have a final question for us, come on up. Yeah, just demute that mic and, oh, sorry, try that again.
It's coming.
There you go.
Come. 1 minute.
Can the use of aquaculture supposedly prevent or reduce hunger and malnourishment in undeveloped countries? If so, will it decrease hunger forever or will it only stop for the time being?
I don't think anything will defeat hunger forever, but aquaculture can certainly contribute to that because it's a rich and an available source of protein, which is lacking in a lot of places in the world, for sure.
Excellent. It's worth noting, too, that hunger around the world's gone way down because of all the investments in farming and sustainable fish farming and in aquaculture and lots of things that have enabled us to make it so that very few people or a lot fewer people in the world experience famine, which is great. All right, we're getting to the end of the Hangout. So Dr. Murray, what I want to do is if you have any last messages for kids, ways that they can learn more, ways that they can get involved in something similar like you are, any last words?
Last words. All I'm going to say is stay curious, keep asking questions, and have fun.
Excellent. We get that a lot. Stay curious is something that, regardless of discipline, is something that we receive a lot. You also mentioned Jacques Cousteau as an inspiration, and every ocean scientist we talk to, Jacques Cousteau is a name that comes up universally, which is great.
There you go. Excellent.
What we do at the end of every Hangout, Dr. Murray, is I'm going to demute every class's microphone. So boys and girls, if you guys could get ready with me to say a huge thank you and goodbye. I think they like fish. Thank you guys to all the classes for joining us today. Dr. Murray, that was great. Thanks so much for being a part. And yeah, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day.